Donald Trump has the number of delegates needed to clinch the Republican nomination. Trump has passed the 1237 threshold. He got the final push from uncommitted delegates that are now declaring their support for his campaign. Now, I want to show you this real quickly. This is Trump right here. 1238. He's got all the red states here. Cruz had the yellowish, but he passed 1238. Now we're moving over to the Democratic side. Hillary's in blue, Bernie's in red, or Bernie's in green, excuse me. She's ahead. She's close to clinching, particularly with those super delegates, locking up that Democratic nomination during the last round of primaries on June 7th. She has 23-10. Bernie Sanders sits at 15-42. Her campaign is hoping a State Department report released this week does not hurt her chances in those races. The report says Clinton's use of private email server failed to follow policy, but it did find she wasn't the only secretary to use private email. However, the rules on private email use changed in 2009 when Clinton took office. So joining us right now to discuss the effects of these developments in the 2016 election, News4JAX political analyst Jennifer Carroll. Jennifer, thank you for joining us. Let me back up to Trump here. So he gets the 1238 he needs. Was he still going to campaign in these last five? And is this important for him in party unity?
Well, he's already campaigning in these areas. As you've seen, he's had 2 stops this past week in California. So he's going to make sure that the voters know that they're also important, although he's already clinched the number of delegates to be the nominee. Okay,
now let's move back to the Democratic side here. You have California, Montana, I think that's the Dakotas, New Mexico, Kentucky's up in the air. Is this definitely done? Bernie's still making his push possibly all the way up to the convention.
Bernie has an agenda. His agenda is to influence the convention and the platform at the convention and to have a stake as to what the Democrat Party is going to look like. Hillary Clinton has not clinched this nomination, which is problematic for her because it seems as if she's a flawed candidate. Bernie Sanders is she's to her heels in California. If Bernie Sanders wins California, it's going to show that he has the momentum that she needs. So she's going to need to bring him into the fold here to say, bring your people behind me because I'm going to be the nominee.
If he wins California, it's not likely, but he could possibly win. What do you think happens then? Does he continue to push this, or is it over?
He is. He says he's going all the way to the convention. Where people were thinking that they're going to have a contested convention on the Republican side, look what's happening here. Bernie Sanders is making his way so that he's going to be the nominee. He's going to influence.
He only has 42 superdelegates. That'll be a contention.
He's going to influence the nominee because he's going to make her stay to the left, where she would like to come to the right a little bit or in the middle a little bit so she can capture other people.
I understand. So let's look at her superdelegates here if we can. Yeah, she's got 502. She's got a lot more. So that'll be interesting. I want to move on to something else. Poll data that shows Marco Rubio does by far best in holding on to his Senate seat in Florida. It's important to keep the majority run, Marco. This is a tweet from Donald Trump. What did you make about the fact that Donald Trump got involved in trying to push one of his old competitors, who now slightly seems to be behind him in the last week or so, now that Trump's saying, run, stay in the Senate? What do you think of this?
What that means, people are saying, well, Marco should be his running mate, and Marco should have probably some portion in his cabinet. What it's going to show is that the President, Donald Trump, would prefer Marco to just stay in the Senate or go someplace else because it is not showing that cohesiveness that he may have a slot in the administration.
And I think I've seen the senator say he does not want to be.
But that's what all politicians say until the question comes to you. So it's just a wait and see.
I want to ask you about one other thing, guys. If you could put the graphic on the screen, I think we have a graphic that will show you kind of the positive rankings of the 3 last remaining candidates, Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders, and Hillary Clinton. Do we have that, guys? Okay, 6 out of 10. Okay, this is on Trump and Clinton. 6 out of 10 voters have negative views of both candidates. This is from a Washington Post ABC poll. What do you make of that? Because they're likely the 2 head-to-head here starting once Clinton officially secures this nomination.
Well, it will be, and it could be a spoiler for some people like the Republicans that haven't been sold totally on Donald Trump. And it could be problematic for Hillary Clinton as well, meaning that she has the Benghazi issue, the email issue. Would Joe Biden step in? On the Republican side, there are other people running for the for the presidency as well. No names that we know of, but it could be potential that some of those people siphon off and go and vote for someone else or do a write-in. We've heard that.
Jennifer Carroll, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. It's getting interesting here in these final weeks. To track the latest developments in election 2016 on the politics page of newsforjax.com. Right now, there's a story recapping the latest in clashes between pro and anti-Trump groups in San Diego.